April Joint Railroad Committee could come to order, please. We have some new board members. I think we'll do the speaker's comments first, and then we'll introduce our new board members. We're expecting a couple of delayed entrances here as we've had a difficult commute today. Justin, would you give the safety?
Yes, good morning. The following are procedures to follow in the event of an emergency. If an alarm sounds, wait for public address announcement and follow instructions. If told to go to another floor or to evacuate the building, leave all unessential items behind and use stairwell A just across the main hallway or stairwell E down the hall past the elevator lobby. Notify emergency personnel if you need assistance. And AEDs are located in the main hall just past the elevators.
Thank you. Mr. Gans, may we have our public speakers, please?
Yes, Madam Chairman. We have 6 speakers today. We ask them all to adhere to the 2-minute limit so everyone has a chance to be heard. Our first speaker is Orrin Getz, followed by Jason Pinheiro.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, members of the board. My name is Orrin Getz. I'm the vice chairman of the Metro-North Rail Commuter Council. Good news. Our trains on the west side of the Hudson have been running much better, and we have had no cancellations of our morning express train. I strongly recommend that all of the Metro-North Committee members ride all of the trains that are operated by Metro-North. On the east side of the Hudson, that would be the Harlem, Hudson, and New Haven lines with the branches at New Canaan, Danbury, and Waterbury. You should ride those lines to become familiar with them. West of Hudson, it would mean getting on the Port Jervis Line train at Harriman and riding into Hoboken, taking the path to the World Trade Center and walking through the Oculus and see how the connection is made to the New York City subways at the Fulton Transportation Center. We're now in the second quarter of 2019, and we still haven't heard from our friends over at New Jersey Transit when we're going to get our second express train back. New Jersey Transit's been very opaque on this project, and we would love to find out when that's going to happen. We understand they have to restore the Atlantic City line first, but hey, we should be notified very soon from Kevin Corbett of what's going on. Unfortunately, if you go into Penn Station, especially from the north side off of 34th Street, there are no displays that tell you the information about New Jersey Transit. You have to walk through Penn Station to the south side of Penn Station or come in the 32nd Street entrance in order to see what information is available for New Jersey Transit. We would appreciate if the Long Island Railroad would work with New Jersey Transit to put some monitors at the north end of Penn Station so we can see it, especially when you come off the 8th Avenue subway. Also, we still would like a status from Metro-North about the New Jersey Transit installation of PTC on the west of Hudson equipment. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jason Pinheiro, followed by H.P. Schroer.
Good morning, Susan. Nice to see you back. One thing that I want to address is to my friends that rely on the Long Island Railroad has been seeing an increase in homeless people wandering around the station, especially at the Merrick station on the Babylon branch. And I want to see if each and every board member could ride the Long Island Railroad to and from Penn Station, to and from Hunters Point Avenue, and to and from, especially, Atlantic Terminal, Brooklyn. And Metro-North could do the same. And I want to see improvements in the Mount Vernon West Station. This station needs attention very desperately because a lot of people tend to go to the Empire City Casino every single weekend. And it's not acceptable to have a station that looks spooky. So let's see if we could see improvements with this kind of new board. I'll see you guys in transit.
Thank you. Our next speaker is H.P. Schroer, followed by Murray Bowden.
Good morning, and welcome to the new commissioners. My name is H.P. Schroer. I'm the director of Veterans Advocacy Group called UMIWI. Some of you may be aware for the last year and a half, I appeared before the old board requesting a discount for veterans. If any of you feel ignored because I haven't appeared before your meetings, I apologize. I know how you feel because my arguments, which was presented to justify a veterans discount, were totally ignored by the old board. Not to be discouraged, we continued in our efforts, and hopefully with the new commissioners, you may take note of the progress made with the city and state legislatures, and perhaps it will resonate with you. What exactly is the progress? New York City will soon enable veterans attending college to purchase Metro cards at a discount, and they will reimburse you for any loss of income. We are close to getting a majority of New York State legislatures to pass legislation which will provide funds for a veterans discount, an estimated 2 cents a fare. A plan was offered to reduce the estimated $225 million lost through fare invasion. It is now being considered by your legal department. The public believes veterans should get a discount. Your old board and governor do not, nor did they make any analysis of any cost in terms of what it would cost. Veterans need help. Please examine your conscience and let the public know whether veterans service for country is worth 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Murray Bowden, followed by Lisa Daglian.
Public comment today is town hall style. Whoever is there takes questions from the audience, and they get answered right then and there. I consider this public participation. I've stood here for many times and repeated the same question and got no answer. So in the view of the way the world has changed, I watch it on TV, everybody goes to a town hall, I consider this a town hall presentation. Public participation, not public comment. I've asked Metro North Railroad why they sound the horn at 125th Street. I've asked it at least 50 times here and gotten no answer. I want an answer today because you don't get back to me. What is the reason Metro North Railroad sounds the horn at 125th Street? Whoever represents Metro North Railroad, please answer my question. Do you take responsibility for running the railroad? Or are you here just for show? What's the answer? Half the board is gone, half the board is new. This is the new MTA in case you haven't noticed. If you're not prepared to answer the questions when we ask them, it's time for you to retire and leave your position and let somebody who is prepared to deal with the issues deal with them.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Lisa Daglian, followed by Victor Andrews.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Lisa Daglian. I'm the Executive Director of the Permanent Citizens Advisory Committee to the MTA, PCAC, speaking on behalf of Metro North and Long Island Railroad Commuter Councils. Welcome to the new board members. When the budget agreement was reached on Albany in Albany on March 31st, most of the transportation-related attention was focused on the historic approval of congestion pricing. We're proud to have been part of the effort to make it a reality and to add our voices to ensuring that the Long Island Railroad and Metro-North riders will also benefit from critically needed funds. As evidenced by some of the changes around the table, there are other important components to the agreement, including restructuring and reorganizing the MTA, aligning board member terms with those of the elected officials who appoint them, and new performance metrics that will go into effect no less than 6 months after they're signed into law. One of those metrics is terminal on-time performance. According to the legislation, a train will only be considered on time if it arrives at its destination early, on time, or no more than 2 minutes late, and has not skipped any planned stops. That's a change from the current 5-minute 59-second standard. In our 2011 report, Minutes Matter, PCAC made a similar recommendation as it would better reflect the rider experience. However, we called for adding the metric, not changing it entirely. As such, we have several concerns. First and foremost, it appears that the new metrics were taken literally from a page in London's book, without significant discussion with the operating agencies or riders, especially with regard to making critical connections. Over the next few months, as you open discussions with the legislature and begin to integrate the changes into your scheduling and operating practices, we ask that the rider representatives from each commuter council be at the table to provide input. There will likely be unintentional consequences of these requirements, and we urge inclusion of those that will be most affected, the riders. Thank you. I'd like to note that the board books were not available until 6 o'clock on Friday, and we're going to ask that they be made available earlier so that people who don't have access to computers over the weekend can also view them. Thank you.
Thank you. Our final speaker is Victor Andrews.
Good morning, MTA. I got a problem with trying to get Long Island Railroad either from the Atlantic Terminal or 34th Street, because if you got to go to Long Island, you need help trying to get down there. And if I leave my house at 4:30 in the morning to go on the 6 a.m. train, I notice I get no help. I don't know. There should be some kind of either NYPD or either some kind of police officer there from either Long Island Railroad or somewhere to help you get down, because if you fall on the way down, you have no way of getting there if you fall on the way down without help. So you guys should look into that.
Thank you. That concludes our public speakers for today.
Thank you, Mr. Gans. First, I'd like to make you all aware that our board member, Neil Zuckerman, couldn't be with us today, but he is on the phone, so he can hear us. He isn't counted as a quorum, but he will sound like a disembodied voice over your heads. Hello, Neil.
Hello.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to introduce some new board members to you. First of all, an old new board member, David Mack, who was with us in years past, and I'm happy to see him back. Secondly, Rhonda Herman, who is well known to the commuter councils, as she served on the Metro-North Council for some time. And last but not least, my co-chair, Kevin Law, who has just joined us. I understand the commute today was a little challenging. Would you like to say something, Kevin?
No, just welcome, and I'll follow your lead.
Okay. Happy to have you all. The minutes are in the book. Does anyone see any changes for either the Long Island Committee minutes or the Metro-North Committee minutes? Hearing none, I would take a motion to approve. Norman, how about you move?
I so move.
Thank you. I will second, and I'm in favor. I do want to point out two things in the Metro-North minutes. The first is at the last meeting, there was a request for some information about elevators controlled by Metro-North, and that was provided to the committee via memo. So if there are any questions on that. And secondly, there will be a change to the work plan to help us address the issue that was raised by Neil with respect to planning our future outages and repairs. In that case, are there any changes to the Metro-North work plan? those in favor? Yeah, good. Go ahead. Okay. Okay, the MTA Homeless Outreach Report will no longer be presented at the Joint Railroad Committees, but at the Safety Committee. The report is being consolidated into one report, which will be presented at the July Safety Committee. And also the Accelerated Track Maintenance Report has been moved up 1 month from June to May, when the internal Metro-North analysis will be presented to the committee. There are no further changes to the Metro-North work plan. Changes to the Long Island Railroad?
There are no changes to the
No
Long Island
changes.
Railroad work plan.
Thank you. In that case, we will move right into the agency reports. May we have the Metro-North report? I'd like to point out that Susan is standing in for Kathy Rinaldi. Susan is the Executive Vice President of Metro-North. Thank you. Thank you. On behalf of Kathy and the entire Metro-North team, I want to start by welcoming Rhonda Herman and Kevin Law as our new board members, and we look forward to working with you as we deliver the best possible customer experience at Metro-North. Service delivery operated above goal for the third consecutive month in March, with 95.2% on time overall and 93.5% in peak periods. Hudson Line operated at 97.0%, with 96.3% in the peak. Harlem Line was at 96.3%, with 94.4% in the peak periods. New Haven Line performed at 93.4%, with 91% in the peak. Year-to-date on-time performance remains steady at 95.8% and 94.5% in the peak periods. West of Hudson service operated below goal at 92.5% due to Metro-North infrastructure work and switch and signal failures, as well as New Jersey Transit equipment failures and manpower issues on the Port Jervis line. The Pascack Valley line operated at 95.6%, and the Port Jervis was at 88.2%. Consus compliance was good during the month of March at 99.6% overall, with 99.1% in the peak. We continue to have additional M8 cars out of service due to ongoing warranty modifications. I want to provide an update to Kathy's report last month regarding the Devon substation on the New Haven line that could not be repaired following a fire back in February. At the end of March, our crews successfully accelerated bringing a new replacement substation online at Devon that was not scheduled to go into operation until the fall. Because of the extraordinary efforts of our crews, we were back to the power configuration before the fire at Devon. On behalf of Kathy, I want to thank Metro-North and CDOT folks for all their work in successfully bringing this substation into operation and minimizing the impact on train service since the incident. As our construction season kicks into high gear, Metro-North crews began work this past weekend to replace the entire interlocking south of Poughkeepsie. This track work involves the removal and replacement of 5 track switches that allow trains to move from one track to another and is crucial to safe and efficient service. To accommodate this line upgrade, trains are operating on weekends on a single track between Beacon and Poughkeepsie for a distance of approximately 14 miles, and this requires a special schedule on weekends to accommodate. The infrastructure work will continue through the end of June. Speaking of train schedules, yesterday, the new timetables for all 3 east of Hudson lines went into effect. These schedules are designed to reflect more accurately how the railroad's progressive infrastructure improvement plan affects train running times, resulting in more reliable, dependable, and safe service to our customers. Most of our customers will experience minor adjustments of 1 to 6 minutes to their train schedules. In designing this schedule, we took into account a busy infrastructure improvement schedule that includes upgrades to the infrastructure, continued positive train control installation along our tracks and on our fleet, and the actual running times of trains. The slightly lengthened schedules allow Metro-North to fulfill its mission of safely transporting 285,000 daily riders while performing critical track work and capital construction projects to maintain a safe and efficient railroad.
As with every schedule change, Metro North will continue to monitor its service and consider input from train crew observations, customer feedback, and actual customer counts to continue to improve our schedules. We continue to focus on improving the customer experience at our stations, with enhancements progressing at some stations as part of our Way Ahead plan. At White Plains, major station work is about halfway completed and is progressing on time and on budget. 2 weeks ago, we reopened the northern end of the island platform, as well as the staircase leading from the Mott Street Tunnel to the island platform. And we have a slide. The first slide shows the new wood ceiling, lighting, and benches with USB chargers on the newly upgraded north end platform. We have another slide. This slide is of the glass enclosed stairway leading to the Mott Street Tunnel and County Center parking facility. Improvements are now underway to the interior space of the island platform and include expansion of the waiting room and renovated restrooms. We appreciate our customers' patience with the work as the work continues to progress at White Plains and have taken steps to minimize the impacts on our customers during construction. As customers can see, we are transforming the station into a more inviting, comfortable, and appealing place with improved accessibility, easier access to real-time train information, and enhanced customer amenities. And I was there actually last week on Thursday, and I did talk to some of our customers while I was there, and they really do like the whole new look. I got some feedback, some things for us to consider going forward, but I thought that it was it's certainly well received and appreciated by our customers. We're continuing improvements at Nanuet Station. Last fall, we made repairs to the station entrance road and surface of Metro North's parking facility. Repair work began last week to the ADA access ramp, which will be followed by repainting of the station platform canopy and installation of new bird netting. The ADA station ramp is expected to be completed in May. The painting and new bird netting will take place this year as well. Finally, replacement of passenger shelter will be designed this year and replaced next year. One of today's procurements seeks approval to solicit proposals for the design, construction, and delivery of a wayside energy storage system. This system is a Way Ahead initiative where we are continuing to invest in our infrastructure by deploying technology to improve power delivery to our trains on the Upper Harlem. This system would provide additional needed traction power for a segment of the Harlem line between Chappaqua and Mount Kisco. And lastly, MTA Chairman and CEO Pat Foy requested that each agency president verbally report on his or her agency's year-to-date financial performance in the form of its operating loss or deficit. Through the end of March, Metro North generated $241 million in revenue and spent $374 million, resulting in a net operating loss of $133 million. Due to lower than expected revenues, more than offset by lower than expected expenditures, the net operating loss through March is lower than what was assumed to be in the adopted budget. And now I'd like to just turn this over to Tom Mitchell to give a couple of highlights about our custodian utilization.
Thank you. Good morning. This morning we're going to talk about our Way Ahead initiative this year. We reorganized our custodial forces to be better positioned during the AM and PM rush hours at several stations. Additionally, the start of spring cleaning begins our most active extraordinary cleaning season, or e-cleaning. We begin our spring cleaning by utilizing power washer equipment to remove the ice melting product off platform stairs and other areas. We also power wash shelters, canopies, over and underpasses, and tactile panels. Our e-cleaning crews are also hard at work washing windows, scrubbing bathrooms, and cutting brush and weeds where necessary. We clean stations using a cyclical schedule that provides optimal utilization of our e-cleaning crews throughout the e-cleaning season. Thank you.
Thank you. And that concludes the President's report.
Do board members have any questions on the President's report or Tom's report? Tom, I think that I saw your custodial group at Beacon earlier in the week, or last week. Justin, may we have the safety report for Metro North, please?
Yes, the safety report can be found on page 37. Customer injuries continue to trend less than 1 injury per million customers and are down over 12% versus the previous 12 months. Employee lost time injuries are down nearly 19% over the previous 12 months. There were 0 grade crossing incidents, derailments, or collisions through February. However, on March 25th, we did have a grade crossing incident at Corbin Road in Pauling between train 956 and a tractor trailer. The tractor trailer had a possible mechanical failure, resulting in the dump trailer detaching from the truck, causing it to occupy the Corbin Road grade crossing. This resulted in train 956, striking the dump trailer. 1 customer and 3 employees sustained injuries as a result of this incident. At this Wednesday's Safety Committee, we will be providing an update on grade crossing safety. And finally, our grade crossing outreach program tracks reached over 15,000 individuals in February, bringing the total for the year to over 20,000.
Thank you. Any questions on the safety report for Metro North? Yes, Randy.
I happen to see some photos, and those 2 cars are wrecked. Are we in a position to get money for a replacement or repair of them?
2 answers. Yes, we're going to be filing a claim with the individual's insurance company to recover what costs we can. And the 2 cars, we're looking to repair them. The cab car actually is being moved to Stanford, our heavy repair facility. And then the second coach, the trailer, we're still evaluating whether that's reparable. I do want to commend the crew on that particular train. We reviewed the onboard video, and they actually did a textbook case with regards to addressing the concern and dealing with the crisis. And we want to wish them a great thank you for reacting to this unfortunate accident in a very professional manner.
Thank you, John. I'm pleased to hear that, and the entire committee wishes them well and a speedy recovery. Any other questions? Hearing none, may we have the Long Island Railroad report, please?
Yes, thank you. Good morning. First, I'd like to thank Mitch Pally for all his contributions and years of service to the MTA. And at the same time, I'm excited to welcome several new board members to this committee, Vice Chairs Rhonda Herman and David Mack, and new co-chair Kevin Law. I've known Kevin for years, and I admire your work bringing leaders from business, from communities, and labor, all working together collaboratively to help sustain and grow the economy on Long Island. And it's about improving the quality of life for all New Yorkers. I'm looking forward to working with everyone here to make sure that the railroad continues to do its part and meet the demands of a growing and thriving region. And as the island grows, so too does our ridership. We carried over 7.5 million riders and customers in March, 270,000 more riders, or a 3.8% increase from 2018. For the year to date, we've seen an increase of 3% over the same time period of 2018, which itself represented a modern-day Long Island Railroad record. And revenue generated from ridership is a key piece of Long Island Railroad's budget, and the year-to-date growth Long Island Railroad has experienced has helped the bottom line. But still, it is only one component, and it's imperative for the Long Island Railroad to continue to identify ways to operate more effectively, more cost-efficiently, and to do better at project delivery. At MTA Chairman and CEO Pat Foy's request, each month now we will be reporting the Long Island Railroad year-to-date financial performance in the form of our operating loss/deficit. Through the end of March, the Long Island Railroad has generated $282 million in revenue and spent $468 million, resulting in a net operating loss of $186 million. With higher-than-expected revenues and lower-than-expected expenditures, our net operating loss through March is lower than what was assumed in the adopted budget. So while our ridership is up, I'm also proud to report that our on-time performance is also up and trending in the right direction. Last month, we exceeded our performance goal and reached 94.6% on-time performance. And the last time we met or exceeded 94% was September 2016. Since we've been keeping records from 1979, last month was our 8th best March. And I'm truly thankful to all of our employees and our labor partners as we act with a get-it-done attitude under Long Island Railroad Forward, delivering improved and more timely situational response, planned maintenance, and critical modernization projects. We are moving more and more people every day as we tackle one by one the issues that have affected their travels in the past. Our new sense of urgency and creative way of thinking is paying off. We're working with innovators across the globe and adopting best practices and developing some of our own to mitigate delays and get work done more efficiently. And the results are speaking for themselves. I would say with certainty that while we did not see the snow totals this winter that can impact service, we faced many wind events, one such this morning. But in March of 2018, high winds did bring down many utility poles, delaying our customers. And since we started tackling this through the last year into now, we've been able to mitigate the effects of strong winds. 0 down poles or trees from our right-of-way and countless delays avoided. And we're continuing to get the word out to our riders about our new customer experience initiatives. We've developed many new programs and look to build on them in 2019. We've received positive feedback from our customers with the new My LIRR feature. Customers wanted real-time train location information, and we delivered. We're seeing growing usage each month and now have 55,000 distinct users that have taken advantage of it since it was launched in January. A good sign is that they are repeat users and now more informed users as they can see where their train is, how many cars they have, and incidents or construction work happening in our system. The real-time data can help make their commutes more seamless while making them aware of how things are going through the system, all the information at their fingertips. And as we receive feedback, we continue to work improving this tool and working with our partners at Metro North to develop this further for all. Our branch line managers and station staff continue to meet with riders every week across the system to answer their questions and address their concerns. And this week we'll be at Westbury and Sayville. And we're making senior staff more available to the public than ever before. In the past year, we've hosted 9 customer conversations across Nassau, Suffolk, Manhattan, and most recently in Queens and Brooklyn to discuss all the modernization work underway to improve their rider experience. Our partnership and communication with local communities continues to prove fruitful. We are responding with more urgency and taking care of issues that have lingered for decades, including the Lefferts Boulevard Bridge deck rehab and Lynbrook Station infrastructure improvements. And one of the programs I'm most proud of is Long Island Railroad Care. When I started last year, our Call Ahead program fielded only 16 requests in all of 2017. With a more streamlined protocol, easy-to-remember number, and new ambassadors, we've fielded over 1,200 requests to date. And as we strive to continually improve infrastructure and service, we still want to find ways to add more value to our monthly ticket holders. Last year, we developed a new program where monthly riders could bring up to 4 guests for $1 each on Saturdays during the summer. It helped get people out of their cars, encourage them to use the railroad and visit destinations. I'm pleased to say that we were off for summer Saturdays again for our monthly ticket holders. And our new philosophy is working and yielding great results. We're taking action on things today that we can control and mitigating the things that we cannot control by addressing issues that have been deferred for years so we can provide the service our riders deserve. Bridge strikes are a good example. Everyone at Long Island Railroad and our customers know the impacts to service when our bridges are impacted. Under our modernization projects, we've been elevating the bridges most prone to bridge hits, including Post Avenue and Buckham Road. Later this year, Nassau Boulevard, pictured here, and Accabonac Road and North Main Street on the Montauk branch will be replaced with clearances of 14 feet. And although bridge replacements have been successful with 0 strikes since they've been replaced, we know that we cannot rest and wait for all of our susceptible bridges to be replaced. So last year we started a new initiative, starting with a select few critical locations, and began a thorough structural analysis to analyze and categorize these bridges, and taking action now to mitigate delays from bridge hits. With the analysis complete, we are piloting the use of cameras, telltale markers, and accelerometers, allowing our staff to more quickly assess and verify more timely the level of impact to our infrastructure and our ability to run trains. And this initiative as well is being shared with our partners at Metro North, and we look to build further on this together. All of our projects, whether it's third track or upgrading a switch at Jamaica, are making a difference both short-term and long-term, and the numbers are showing it, but we cannot and will not let the foot off the accelerator. We continue to evaluate and reevaluate all of our work streams to get needed maintenance done more effectively. We continue to drill down on root causes of our delays and tackle them head-on, and we're turning the ship and getting people moving on time and with less hassle. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
Sue, this is Neil Zuckerman from the Sky.
Please, go ahead, Neil.
Phil, in the spirit of this being a joint meeting, I will raise a question from your commentary, which is an impressive record of success and a turnaround story, so congratulations. We have heard from you in months past and in this morning about the app for riders that tracks the position of trains. It is, from my military experience, unacceptable and untenable that the Army would have one radio system and the Air Force have another, even though they both are soldiers who use radios. And yet this offering that you're describing for Long Island Railroad is not, as far as I know, in development for Metro North. What are our plans? And I realize Kathy is not here, so Sue, you can punt on this if you'd like, but I want to make sure I'm on the record stating that it is untenable that we have an offering that is meant to advance the Long Island Railroad commuters' experience and not have a similar technology when we have a similar opportunity to provide. Clearly the architecture and the geometry of our tracks are different, but the base technology is not. Do we have any viewpoint, Sue, of where we are on bringing that offering to Metro North, knowing that the number one issue we face is the installation of positive train control? So I put this a little further down on my wish list.
Commissioner Zuckerman, before I turn it over to Metro North, I just want to let you know that we have been working every day and weekly with Metro North on implementing this for them as well. So it is while we originally launched it as a beta and we continue to try and improve it, we are meeting on a regular basis. And I know Metro North, MTA IT, and Long Island Railroad are working to deliver this. But I could let Metro North speak on that as well.
That's in fact the case, and I'll turn it over to Tom Mitchell, where he can give you a little more detail if you're interested in that.
I'm always interested, and that's up to Sue if she thinks that's an appropriate topic.
Please, Tom.
Yes, we are. There's a work group as Phil has mentioned, that we're working with Long Island and MTA IT to launch a similar app. We don't have GPS, so we are basically using our signal system to launch that, and we are working right now with our car department to make sure that we have the consist as accurate as they can be. We anticipate having that launched probably in 60 days or less.
That's really great to hear. And first of all, Phil, thank you for your comment. I appreciate your leadership. I think it is, this is the nature of what we need to keep doing, is bringing these two railroads together.
Thank you for bringing that up, Neil. And perhaps you could add to your list of things to report to us next month. We'd like to have a quick status as to whether we're really on schedule, as Tom indicates.
Will do.
Anything else? Anyone else? May we have your safety report, please?
Good morning. Our safety report can be found on page 40 of your book, and we're reporting on our safety performance for the period ending February 2019. The average reportable customer injury rate decreased 37% from 2.82 injuries per million customers to 1.79 injuries per million customers. And our partnership with MTA Police, Together Railroads and Communities Keeping Safe, reached over 18,500 participants through the end of February 2019. On the employee reportable lost time injury rate, we saw a 26% decrease from 3.64 injuries per 200,000 hours worked to 2.7 injuries per 200,000 hours worked. Our greatest challenge is soft tissue injuries, and in recognition of the challenge, and you'll see roughly 45% of our FRA reportable injuries in 2018 resulted in soft tissue injuries to our employees. We launched a new intranet website that's available to our employees. Our goal really is to provide our employees with resources and tools so that they can prepare to work safely. We all know that at the railroads we have very physically demanding tasks, and as our society and as our bodies change over time, it becomes more and more challenging to be able to do tasks that maybe we were able to do 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. So our goal really is to connect our employees with resources so that they can make good decisions about how to prepare for work on their daily, on a daily basis. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions? Hearing none. May we have the capital construction report, please, Jano?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to start out by echoing Phil's comments, both appreciating the work of the outgoing board members. Mr. Pally was a great supporter of the work that our team has been doing, and also to to express interest in working closely with the new board members, Mr. Mack, Ms. Herman, and Mr. Law. Commissioner Law has been a partner in both East Side Access and Third Track for quite some time, so we're real thrilled to have him as a partner on the board. I'm going to be reporting in some detail at CPOC, especially on the East Side Access project. It's the once every 4 months report of our group on major projects. But I'm going to take you through very quickly through a summary of that report so you see what's going on. You've got Third Track up on the screen first? Okay, I'll do Third Track first because we're all slaves to IT. Third Track, very quickly, scope reminder. Design build project, notice to proceed issued in October of 2018. Total budget $2.6 billion, spans 2 capital programs. Important to be reminded that we have some money that's expected in the next capital program. It's going to benefit 300,000 daily Long Island Railroad customers on all 11 branches. And together with, this is the punchline always is that together with East Side Access, Third Track will enable a 45% increase in Long Island Railroad peak capacity, really transformational. Includes 10 miles of track, 7.5 miles of retaining wall, 7 grade crossings, which, as I'm going to tell you, we're increasing the number of grade crossing eliminations to 8, 6 stations, 7 bridges, and all kinds of parking lots and parking facilities. So, very quickly, this is a schematic diagram of the right-of-way, the 10-mile right-of-way, and you can see there is literally work going on in virtually every area of the right-of-way. We've made enormous progress. We've got a bridge widening that's completed in Floral Park, work ongoing on 2 more bridges, 2 grade crossing eliminations underway, including one at Covert Avenue where the closure took place today, this morning, after a ton of community outreach and information. 2 stations under construction, raising track at 3 locations, and we're installing the fiber backbone throughout the right-of-way. And probably most important, there is a ton of work on retaining walls and sound walls going on. That is the critical path of this project, to create the new right-of-way so that all of the track and signals and associated infrastructure can be installed. We are on budget. We are on schedule. More detail this afternoon. We've only used $500,000 of contingency so far. We can see, looking forward, that we will be needing some of it for appropriate force account support for some complex operations, a little bit of that contingency. But because the contingency is in such good shape right now, we are comfortable proposing that we borrow from it in order to advance 2 grade crossing eliminations. These are both, including the School Street crossing, which is the one where the terrible accident in Westbury took place. The advantage of advancing these crossings is that there will be forces coming off the other grade crossing eliminations who are both, who have the expertise and who have recently performed the work. If we can move it up, obviously a benefit to the public, but also a benefit to the project schedule. So we're going to be doing that. We're going to be borrowing money from the contingency. We have high level of confidence that the remaining dollars for this project are going to be funded in the next program. We've got that confirmation from the executive as well as our own leadership. Covert Avenue closed today. You see some of the preparatory activity that was taking place last week. It's the 2nd grade crossing elimination, and when it reopens to traffic in the 4th quarter of 2019, it will be an undergrade crossing for the people who have been stuck with the gates down during the rush hour, and dealing with that, and also some unsafe behaviors that have been noted at that crossing will now have an undergrade crossing. As a full bridge replacement, the first major bridge replacement, one of these bridges where we construct the bridge adjacent, we then, on a weekend closure, remove the bridge and roll the new bridge in. That's going to take place at Cherry Lane Bridge. It'll be in June, and it's the first of 3 bridge replacements this year. We've got the supportive excavation complete, and we're, as you can see in that image, you can see in the 4th quadrant of the photo, the construction of the new footings are underway. So the substructure is expected in May, and as I said, the roll-in will take place in June. The demolition of the west end of the Carl Place station, this is, is complete. The station's being fully reconstructed to make room for the third track, but to the credit of the design builder, and in an episode that kind of reinforces why design build has some advantages, this station was originally supposed to be fully closed. They figured out a way to do partial demolition and to keep service running. Phil's running is able to put 6 cars on that reduced size platform, so the people at Carl Place are not having the same level of interruption, and that's a positive. Urban Avenue was closed to traffic in March. This is the first grade crossing to be eliminated, and it'll be reopened in the 3rd quarter of this year as an undergrade crossing. The current photo shows the bridge abutments, and all this work is being done in preparation, as I said, for a roll-in of the new bridge in the 3rd quarter. One of our hobby horses on this project is the community commitments that have been done. I always say it's not just good politics, it makes sure that this project, which is going through a densely populated area and could have significant community impacts and concerns, it makes everybody understand what's coming, what to expect, so that they're not disrupted more than absolutely necessary by that. So there are 600 community commitments made on those projects. We are fulfilling all of them, and as I always remind people, the contractors actually graded on their compliance with the community commitments by the public. The last time around, we had 1,500 people fill out the survey of folks who live and work along the right-of-way, and they got a high enough grade that they earned about 90% of the bonus for community commitments. So that's another good thing. We're at the Urban Avenue grade crossing. We're actually running shuttle services. The contractor's running shuttle services, so people who feel that it's difficult to get back and forth will have a way of doing that. It's a 7-day-a-week shuttle, and it's been used by 50-plus people a day. We're engaging with stakeholders. We've had over 50 meetings this year, just in 2019, and you see that's a monthly calendar with some of them. There's meetings with mayors, there are meetings with fire districts, there are meetings with school districts, there are meetings with every municipality and governmental entity. It's a huge part of maintaining schedule. We also monitor ourselves. We have 7 dashboards that monitor 50 leading and lagging indicators. We monitor trends of the performance of all the entities involved with the project, the design build contractor, the project management team, and the railroad force account forces. We all monitor ourselves. And examples of our KPIs, our key performance indicators, are 3,000 submittals and RFIs processed to date. 98% of those submittals have been handled on time, with a 9-day average submittal turnaround, which exceeds the goals we set for ourselves by a lot, but it makes sense to keep that going. And the other thing to credit the Long Island Railroad, under a very challenging schedule, the railroad has only canceled 3% of the outages, and giving the design builder the confidence that they can mobilize workforce, equipment, and everything that goes into preparing for an outage is a huge piece of getting better pricing and more competition as time goes on. So credit to the railroad. That's what I wanted to share with you about the third track project. It seems to be headed in the right direction right now.
Terrific report.
We'll try to keep them coming.
That's great news. I'm especially pleased to see you expediting the grade crossings. It's really important. East side access?
Yeah.
More
I
good
apologize
news?
for taking a little more time than
It's
usual.
okay.
But
I
here we go.
love it when it's a good report.
Yeah, okay. All right. This afternoon at CPOC, a fully detailed report on it's a year since I gave the board a very detailed report on East Side Access. At that time, I had looked for about 6 months with a lot of folks with a variety of expertises at the status of the project. And at that time, we'd found that the results of that review were not good. The issues that had plagued the project for years and years, and this is it back in 2018, April 2018, were at that time threatening to push out the completion date and explode the budget. Today, I'm pleased to report that the project budget we set in April is holding, and that likewise the 2022 revenue service date. We're very proud of that. Commissioner Law knows that this is the first time anybody looked at East Side Access and recommitted to the date rather than pushing it out, and we're recommitting to it again here. Let me show you a quick photo montage that portrays with a little, the dates are on the photos, the progress that's been made in the last year. So that gives you a picture of, again, 3 or 4 major areas of work and the level of progress that we've achieved. A lot of work was necessary, obviously, to achieve the more solid footing that we have reached. We made a lot of organizational changes. We created a so-called project management organization to operate on a heat map basis, to focus on the issues and change orders that were most needed to be prioritized in order to preserve the schedule. We also created a change order management group. Change orders are a reality of any project, especially large and complex ones, but you need to drive them through the process, which includes the determination of merit, the scoping, the estimating by both the contractor and the owner agency, and the negotiations. And we created a group that just drives change orders based on prioritization. There is now a 57,000 activity schedule. That's volume 1. There are a couple more. That is used to run this project, up from 15,000 activities when I inherited the project, and we use that to make sure that we can anticipate every issue that may eventuate and could create risk. And all of this is in support of the new integrated incremental systems testing process that's going to ensure that the integration of the 29 separate systems, which include 30,000 devices, is all done in a way that supports the schedule for 2022. Some signs of success: the time to resolve and execute change orders is down by more than 45% since 2017 and 70% in the last several years. The backlog of change orders, which I talked to you about a year ago, has been reduced by 91%. And last year we had hundreds of submittals waiting for review more than 30 days. In April, we have achieved an 81% reduction in overall submittals. I also talked to you about the difficulties we're having with our partners at Amtrak, the difficulty getting force account support, especially electric traction power linemen, so-called AMEN, to do the work that Amtrak needs to perform themselves or to supervise. We have addressed that issue. Amtrak is performing not perfectly, but much, much better. The partnership is working, and the result has been, and that's Amtrak. And that the progress has been in Harold Interlocking, the busiest passenger rail intersection in the United States, has been tremendous. We had a virtually flawless year with $225 million in construction was done, which is 35% more than the average of the previous 4 years. We installed 14 switches. We had 5 signal huts cut over. Those achievements are 5 times the pace of the previous 4 years. And not only did we award the last heavy civil contract, but we enabled mobilization of that contract weeks ahead of schedule. So I want to especially acknowledge Long Island Railroad's support, and we could not get the work done in Harold without Phil's team's support, and they've really been extraordinary. And Amtrak, as I said, has also become a much better partner. And I'm also going to be acknowledging Mike Kalita, who has run this entire side of the project, the Queen side. And Mike is retiring, but he has put our work in Harold and the whole Queen side of the project on a really positive path. So, as I said, I'm going to handle a little bit more detail in CPOC, but that's a quick summary, not so quick summary of where we are.
Any questions? Kevin.
Yes, thank you, Co-Chair. Susan, nice to meet you as well. Jano and Phil, thanks for the kind words. Welcome, and nice to meet all of you. Look forward to meeting more of you. Jano, a couple of things. First, in your third track report, you used the term on time and under budget. That's going to be music to all of our new board members' ears, for anything to do with anything going on, whether it's Metro North, the Long Island Railroad, and New York City Transit buses. So thank you for continuing to say those things. And also with the East Side Access, we have led about 24 tours of this project. I've been down there 3 times myself. It really is amazing. And until you go down there and appreciate the complexity of it, you will never appreciate that. And we've been taking all types of people from all different types of stakeholder groups on Long Island there to build up a constituency of support, because the only thing most people know about this project is that it's some big project that's well, beyond schedule and well over budget, and there's some excitement. And so the downside of that is that you've now built up a constituency of supporters who want to see this continue to stay, as the term you used, recommitted to the date. And I presume that's to the budget as well. And so, and I think under your leadership that's going to happen, so we're excited about that. So thanks for your report.
I also recommend a field trip because it's been a while since I've been down, and I'd like to see it. The progress looks terrific. And I'd like to suggest that the commissioners make a point of attending the CPOC meeting, which is later today. Jano does a more thorough report on both of these, and in addition, he will address the 2nd Avenue subway and for Metro North, the Penn Station access. He's highlighting some innovative approaches in both the technology, the engineering, and the community outreach, which is really a great pleasure to see. So it's well worth, and I have to say I love his enthusiasm when he reports. Chief, may we have the police report, please?
Good morning. I'm happy to report that overall crime within the system continues to decline. Year to date, we're down 35% over the last year. However, since the MTA Police Department was formed by the combination of Long Island Railroad and Metro North Railroad, we have seen continuous declines over the past 2 years. For instance, Long Island Railroad for the month of March experienced only 4 crimes. That's a record low for any month that we have ever recorded. The 4 crimes include 2 felony assaults. One of our officers was assaulted making an arrest, and a teenager was assaulted during a local high school dispute out at Stony Brook Station. There were also 2 grand larcenies on the Long Island Railroad. Both of them were wallets that were taken, one while the passenger was asleep, the second while the other passenger wasn't quite certain where he lost it, but reported it at Jamaica. For Metro North, they also experienced a decrease in crime. They only had 7 crimes for the month of March, and year to date, they're down about 40%. Metro North Railroad, there's 1 felony assault. Again, it was an officer that was injured making an arrest. There was 1 burglary. I think the older members of the board realized that in Rite Aid, the drugstore in Grand Central Station, they have a policy whereas if they find somebody shoplifting on a number of occasions, they fill out a form, and if they're found in there again shoplifting, they now get charged with the crime of burglary as opposed to petty larceny, such as a deterrent, and it seems to be working fairly well. That's why there's only one arrest in that particular location. The grand larcenies in Metro North, 2 wallets, 2 phones, 1 briefcase, most of them for unattended packages, except for the wallets where apparently for 2 people that were sleeping on the train woke up, they're not quite sure where they lost it, but the wallets were not on their person when they got off the train. In addition to crime being down, our arrests are up, our grade crossing activities are up, particularly in light of the Westbury incident, and our hate crimes are actually down year to date. Any questions?
Questions for the chief? Thank you. Good report. Next, we have information items, and our first information item is PTC. Debbie, if you would come to the table, please. I think that for the benefit of the new board members, I'd like to try to frame the issue for you. The railroads are committed to having PTC installed on time and be fully implemented. The committee as a whole was not happy with our progress. At the end of last year, we set up a working group, which is headed by Neil, who, as you know, is the voice we hear over the phone. Neil has chaired that committee. We have met on a regular basis to note the progress and be assured that we will make the commitment. We told our customers that we would be implementing PTC, and this committee intends to see that happens. So 2 months ago, we understood that there was an issue with our contractor, and we asked them to come talk to the committee. That was an unprecedented event. Committees don't generally speak with contractors directly. We have a huge management staff that's more than capable of doing that. But we needed the assurances personally. Bombardier and Siemens, which is our team, and we felt when we selected them the best and strongest team available, did come, and we did understand what steps they were taking to correct what was basically a quality control failure. We had a meeting last Tuesday, our normal PTC working group, chaired by Neil, and we learned of another problem which we felt jeopardized our meeting our goal. So Debbie, I'd like you to continue with the beginning so you can present what challenges we uncovered. Is Siemens and Bombardier in attendance today? Thank you very much. We appreciate it. If the gentleman in the back row could step aside just for a minute, I would like to have the contractors in a place where we can at least talk to them. I see some faces we've seen before and some new ones. Gentlemen and madam, if we could quickly have your name and the role that you play on the PTC project, that would be helpful to us.
Good morning. I'm Ron Berkelbach. I'm with Bombardier Transportation, and I am head of Rail Control Solutions for the Americas.
Good morning, Anthony DeFrancisco. I'm a senior director with Bombardier in the Rail Control Solutions division and the director of the consortium.
Well, I'm John Paljug. I'm the president of Siemens Mobility Management.
Hi, I'm Erin Devola. Can you hear me? Okay. I'm Erin Devola. I'm with Siemens. I'm the head of operations.
I'm Paul Alia
Senior Program Manager and Project Director for Siemens.
I'm Jeff Baylog. I'm the head of engineering for Siemens.
Thank you. Debbie, could you explain the issues for us, please? I'm sure you all know Debbie. And Anthony is here, too, somewhere. I just don't see him right now. Oh.
Okay. Just to start off on a slightly higher note, just wanted to give you an update on where we are with the PTC project. We have made progress. Metro North completed their required FRA runs on their pilot line. Long Island Railroad in March was able to resume RSD, Revenue Service Demonstration, on the Port Washington line, and we are halfway through our required FRA runs. We're at, as of today, 76 runs. We also initiated RSD on our second pilot line with the release that we had with the first pilot between Babylon and Patchogue. But there's still a lot of work to be done. And in the interest of time, I'll go through the first few slides of the presentation. I want to make you aware of a couple of recent events that have a potential to affect the railroad's working schedules. And if you remember, the schedule that's in the presentation is a working schedule which is much more aggressive than the schedule that we had submitted to the FRA. We currently still remain on target to implement PTC across our respective territories by the end of 2020. However, we need to better manage some of the risks, project risks, and I'll talk about two of them specifically today on the next two slides. As far as the budget, I think, which way am I going? Oh, shoot, how do I? As far as the budget, because of the 2-year extension, Long Island Road will need an additional $30 million to complete the project, and Metro North is currently evaluating their estimate at completion, and they should have their numbers ready by the end of the month, before the next meeting. Okay, so as far as the first risk, this project risk was raised at the February meeting, and this was related to a quality issue we uncovered with 3 components of the undercar scanner assembly. The contractor, in order to not experience impact to our revenue service demonstration timelines, the contractor needs to resolve the problem and return a sufficient number of units back to us. We had the contractor attend the February meeting, and they assured us that they would change their they would reevaluate the procedures that they were using in their manufacturing facility, and they were committed to fixing the problem as quickly as possible to meet our schedule. The railroad sent a joint QA team to the facility in March, and what we observed was that the contractor's recall repair process was not well established. Not only that, they were not fully staffed to support the delivery schedule they had presented to us in February. And this would explain the reason why their deliveries were late in both February and March. And we're still waiting for that new schedule as of today. To make the situation worse, Long Island Railroad had reinstalled a repair unit during the last weekend of March. And what we found was the unit, which was supposedly repaired, was still defective. The contractor's root cause analysis revealed that a variable capacitor, which is another component within the same assembly, which is also tied to the tuning of the scanner antenna, was not properly installed, affecting the proper operation of the antenna. It was soldered instead of bolted, contrary to the manufacturer's recommendation. And when this was reported to us, this was totally unacceptable. This new QA issue puts us back a couple of weeks because not only were they originally behind schedule, the contractor also has to halt their repair process in order to conduct additional environmental testing. And they will also need to, at the urgency of the railroads, they need to really reevaluate their procedures, both in the manufacturing and the testing of the components that comprise of the undercar scanner antenna assembly. An updated schedule is still pending from the contractor, and to date, things have been fairly slow. So what the railroads are going to continue to do is to continue to perform periodic QA audits, probably every 2 weeks. We've also put the contractor on notice that that they need to hire a third-party oversight to oversee their work, or we will place our own oversight monitor in their facility until the recall is completed to our satisfaction. And of course, this will be at their own expense. Another risk which was highlighted at the February meeting was the contractor's ability to meet their software delivery schedule. The next software release for both Long Island and Metro North are still on target. However, the systems integrator notified Long Island Railroad, which has 22 locations of back-to-back interlockings, that the delivery of this solution would not be delivered in one piece as part of our release in October. It would have to straddle 2 software releases, one in October and then the other one in early January. To mitigate the delays, of course, the railroads had no choice but to accept, to try to mitigate the delay. Basically what we did was we agreed to allow the contractor to proceed with the design of the first 20 locations. We would still be able to maintain the delivery in October. However, we'd also ask them to look at the schedule for one of the locations, which is Valley, which is part of Long Island Railroad's mainline territory, to keep that solution as part of the October delivery. Harold Interlocking is the other location which is delayed, and having that as part of the later release is somewhat more acceptable, given the fact that they also have to make some office changes to implement interoperability. So in summary, those are basically the two risks that the railroads need to closely monitor. The other risks are still being managed under control. And in summary, in order for us to maintain our very aggressive project schedule, the contractors still, they need to be able to provide the resources, the leadership. They need to be able to meet the commitments of their schedule. The railroads will continue to, support them. We continue to provide our own in-house resources in the factory. We continue to accept the fact that we will test the software both in the factory and the field in parallel, which is costing us a lot of money. And we continue to try to help them make timely decisions so that things do not, decisions aren't delayed.
At this point, I think it's appropriate that the committee ask some questions of our contractor. I cannot impress upon you enough how distraught we feel about this. Because Neil is the chair of the working group, I'd like to offer him the floor first. Do you have questions, Neil?
I wish I didn't, but I do, and thank you, Madam Chair. So John, Erin, Paul, and Jeff, I believe you're the 4 Siemens executives, and I direct this not just to you, but frankly to your CEO in Germany, Joe Kaiser, or Kaiser. I'll start with a statement, and there are 3 buckets of questions that you can then take in any direction. And I will try not to steal the thunder of any of my colleagues. I will tell you that none of us would accept this level of failure from a brother-in-law or sister-in-law. I would not accept this from a startup. I would not accept this from a regional business. And I certainly would not accept it from a publicly traded $80 billion revenue company that serves across the globe in many services. It is a completely unacceptable standard. Allow me to read from your own annual report from 2018, section entitled Operational Risks. Quote, operational failures and quality problems in our value chain processes. Our value chain comprises all steps in the product life cycle, from research and development to supply chain management, production, marketing, sales, and services. Operational failures in our value chain could result in quality problems or potential product, labor, safety, regulatory, or environmental risks. Such risks are particularly present in our industrial business in relation to our product and manufacturing facilities. From time to time, some of these products we sell might have quality issues resulting from the design or manufacture of these products, or the commissioning of these products, or the software integrated into them. If any of our businesses or strategic units are not able to comply with regulatory requirements, our reputation may be adversely affected. We have established multiple measures for quality improvement and claim prevention. The increased use of quality management tools is improving visibility and enables us to strengthen our root cause and prevention processes. Sirs and ladies, please explain why, in fact, these processes that you supposedly have in place, according to your annual report, were clearly not evident or certainly not successful in this effort. Please diagnose the issue for us.
Hi. Good morning. This is John Paljug. Thank you, Neil. First off, we want to express our concern also and our commitment to getting this project done and getting our problems resolved. Basically, what happened with the antenna was we had a tuning issue at the very beginning in January, February timeframe, which we found to be of issue. We corrected that. We started moving forward with that program, only to find that it was masking another problem with a component. So since then, we have identified that component and adapted a new way of mounting it, and have now we're now in the process of finishing our environmental testing, actually as we speak today. The vibration testing is being done, and we expect to be shipping, I guess, by Tuesday or Wednesday of this week is what the plans are.
Does that mean we're going to have a new schedule soon? Because
Yes.
it's holding us up.
Yes, we did supply a schedule late Friday, so it's just gotten to the MTA, so I'm sure they'll have a chance to take a look at it. We believe it does meet the dates that Debbie has identified as July for Metro North, being completed with all of the units being reworked by July of Metro North, and in October for Long Island. This will be over 285 units for Metro North and 976 units for Long Island Railroad.
Neil, do you have additional questions?
Yeah, thank you. I'd love to hear more about your quality control, and I'll allow that to happen in the next set of questions. I would like to understand what is known through the Siemens organization, up to and including your global CEO, about this failure. What is known, and who knows it?
It's well known. We met so the CEO of the mobility division met with the railroad presidents, both Kathy and Phil. We met with Pat Foy, and we also met with Ronnie Hakem to discuss this topic, I guess about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. So everybody's aware, and it has the highest priority within Siemens.
Why don't you describe to us what that means, highest priority? Siemens is an $80 billion revenue company. You have operations on most continents of the planet. We represent 20-some-odd% of your employee base, which is only a couple of points below Germany. We obviously are a very important market for you, but tell me what that means, that it is a very important project in Siemens. Who knows about it, and does the management committee of the corporation know?
Yes, as I said, the CEO of the mobility division, who reports to the board.
Well, that's not the CEO of the corporation. That's Joe Kaeser is the CEO of your corporation.
Well, yes. So there's 6 divisions that report into Joe within Siemens now. 3 within the company, and 3 are wholly owned companies or public companies. So he is one of those people who reports into Mr. Kaeser. And I can talk a little bit about what we've added and what we're doing quality-wise if you're interested.
We are absolutely interested in knowing about what you're doing about it. I want one last question, though, which is, how does this failure, and this is not a singular failure, and I would augment something my colleague, Dr. Metzger, said earlier, which is we set a deadline actually of December 31st, 2018, which we failed to meet in part because of Siemens's inability to solve the software problem. We accepted that failure to meet the deadline we gave to our providers because we met legalistically the FRA standard. That is not an acceptable goal. It was not the goal I set, and as I said before to you and Bombardier last time, and I said in December, I was disappointed. I still am disappointed we missed that deadline. The next deadline is unimpeachable. It is unacceptable. But how does this failure compare to other failures Siemens has in other divisions or in your own division?
So we've been making this, for example, this product, we've been making this product since 1997. We've never had a systematic recall. This is the first time that this system, any components in this system, have gotten to this level of recall. We've made thousands, almost 3,000 units prior to this.
Well, I'll tell you, sir, that gives me even less confidence, not more, that you are not appropriating the right resources to support this critical rail safety project. Why over 22 years you would have no recalls, then all of a sudden on this project it would exist? What is the answer to that?
The answer is in 2017 we made a component change, and this was this variable capacitor. And when we made the change, we selected a new component that we believed was a direct replacement for the component we were replacing, and unfortunately it was not. We had when we found and these issues, these intermittent issues have showed up, and now we're replacing them.
Why don't you tell us what you're doing about this issue, and then I have one final question after you're done with that.
We do have some other questions on other board
Yes, ma'am.
members. Okay.
Then I will relent and allow my colleagues to talk, and I apologize.
Well, if there's time, I'll come back to you. Kevin, I know you have an issue.
Yes, thank you, Susan. I had planned, this being my first meeting, to sort of lay low and do more listening than talking. But this is an issue I have been following, for some time. And as the Long Island Railroad and Metro North are the largest commuter lines in the entire country, and I believe the United States is an important region for Siemens and you to be doing business. And again, given the fact that we are the largest commuter rail line, I really just find it egregious that we're still talking about delays, and it's unacceptable. And I just still don't understand how this has been allowed to happen. And so if you could just expand upon your earlier answer and try to explain that to me, because it's just hard to fathom. And I certainly think the commuters on both rails, deserve an apology.
Okay, so there's when this problem occurred, we had already been under the impression, and we had already confirmed that we had a tuning issue with this product. Once we solved that, we saw that there was still some intermittent operation. So like anything else, when things just break, they're easy to fix. They're easy to identify what broke. We had some return units. We have well over 1,000 of these things out there between Metro North and Long Island, and we had returned only a handful, a couple. And so we're trying to troubleshoot as these are coming in that may present a problem. And that's where we observed we have a problem with this capacitor. So that happened, I'd say about 3 weeks ago. So since then, we've been running to make sure we get a new approach to the capacitor, get scheduled our testing, our vibration and shock and vibration testing, so that we meet ARIMA specifications, and get manufacturing back up and running.
And is that still being explored, or is that now on the path of being implemented?
Right. So over the weekend, we expedited our vibration testing. It's being done. It was done on the X and Y axes over the weekend, the Z axis today. It's actually being done right now. Manufacturing is scheduled to continue and start manufacturing these things. So we're well on our way. Aaron, you want to talk about where we are with manufacturing?
Sure.
Go ahead.
So sorry, I'm struggling with the microphone. From a manufacturing perspective, so just to kind of clarify, or what John had said, is we've implemented the solution, which is changing the mounting method of the capacitor, but we want to ensure that that solves all of the problems, so we've gone ahead and put that in environmental testing. From a manufacturing perspective, we've taken the product that we have in-house, we've begun the teardown process, and we've worked up to the stage of the trimmer cap attachment. So once we get clearance from the testing lab that all is good, we'll resume manufacturing immediately. We've submitted a schedule to the railroads, which will also hit those same deadlines that John mentioned, that Debbie referred to in her presentation, which is end of July for Metro North and end of October for Long Island Railroad. We're committed to helping you hit your RSD targets through the production process.
I saw David, followed by Norman.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and your staff has reported that another key problems, that the failure rate is somewhere in the area of 22%. I find that, if it's true, very shocking and unacceptable, number one. Number two is Siemens itself, the leading rail transit supplier, letting a calibration machine not be checked for 3 years. Those two issues are disturbing.
If I could comment. As far as the failure rate, we have received that information from the railroads. We haven't been able to confirm a 22%. Our number right now for failures is much lower than that. Regardless, we don't care. We're going to rework every one of these things to the satisfaction of the railroad. So the number is an unacceptable number regardless.
I think your staff has reported that number to us. It's not something out of the sky.
Well, that's not my understanding, but it does. Like I said, at this point, it doesn't matter. We have agreed to replace all these units and rework them, because I don't want to get into a numbers game. We're Siemens. We're going to stand by our product. What was the second question?
Suffice it to say that the failure rate has been too high, whatever the number is.
Exactly. We're not going to. We want the product to work as designed, and at any percentage, it's at the percentages we're talking, it's still too high.
Norman.
The second question, well, let me just answer the calibration on the antenna. You're right. We've entered a number of and added a number of stage gates in our quality process. As I said, we've been manufacturing it the same way since 1997 without an issue. I guess at some point you think you've got the process down. In this case, we didn't.
Yeah, well, let's not bicker and quibble about numbers, but when there's a number that exists, what is your number? If this number's 22%, which we claim we got from you, and you said there's another number, why don't you tell us that number, and then we can decide whether it's a big number or a small number.
The issue you get into when we say that the antenna is not working is there's a number of things going on. How the antenna is installed on board, are the grounds correct, all those types of things. As far as the antenna itself, we have a number that's well below 5% as far as failures. But once again, that's still a number that's too large when you're talking 1,500 units. So and you have to, we have to have this this system rock solid, so we get out there and we get this RSD in place.
Well, I guess, how many units are we talking about? Less than 5% is 5% of what?
Well, it'd be what's that, Glenn? How many? 1,500. Yeah, north of 1,500.
5%, 1,500. Is that?
It's too big of a number.
Sounds like 75.
Yes,
Too big.
Too big. So,
yeah.
So
So-
so we're in agreement. Let's just do this.
Okay, let me work on another number then. When you found this out of calibration, I mean, 3 years out of date, was the calibration 3 years out of date? And when you found it, how far out was, and what instrument was this? Was it an oscilloscope? What was the?
It was actually the process. We had a manufacturing process where a person was tuning the filters, and as part of that process, we found that he would follow the process when audited, but then when left alone, he would change the process. So we got into some of those situations, and also we had we did have a calibration issue with one of the meters, but the combined issue was what the problem was.
Oh, so it was a combination of.
Yes.
So how far out was the meter? That's, I mean, that see, some of this stuff, there's organizational stuff, and then there's mechanical stuff.
Right.
And I kind of like you to distinguish. I mean, the engineering guy maybe could answer. I mean, how far out was it?
How far out was the
calibration? Yeah.
Maybe Erin could answer that.
I mean, obviously, if your operator's doing it a different way every time you do it, you got a problem.
Right.
But if you're not following the, it was an employee or a subcontractor.
He was an employee, and this is why we've added, as I said, now we've added the stage gating. So there's not a single point person. One person does not make a decision. The process now is being tuned by two people. So a single person can't make a mistake and hide that mistake.
But as to the meter itself, how far out was it?
So just to be clear, the piece of equipment that was out was a custom piece of test equipment, so it's not a particular meter. It's actually a golden piece of equipment. So for this incident, it was a CTV that's the golden CTV that we use to tune all of the antennas off of. And so the values themselves were not far out. They were maybe 2 or 3% out of the acceptable calibration range, but we had no evidence that back until that date on the PIB, the 3 years, that it had been in calibration. Therefore, it's always the safest thing to do to recall the product, which is what we're doing.
How far out was the performance of the total assembly? How far out was that? I mean, is that explainable by the failure of the
Yeah, so what it does is it shifts the range of the tuning. So the CTV and the antenna need to work collaboratively together. And so if I've tuned the antenna a little bit, let's say to the left, and that the CTV is properly tuned in the center, I now have a potential for a mismatch, which is what was happening in this case.
Vinny, did you have something you wanted to add? I have a couple myself, so let's expedite our questions.
I'll be quick. When you're referencing what we are doing to fix it, meaning you, could you give an indication of the resources that you're utilizing now to make all of these corrections? I mean, if you're identifying what they are, how many people are we talking about? How many people are working behind the scenes? I just heard a reference to 2 people that are checking on something. What's the magnitude of experts, the crafts, the talent level, the skill sets of the people that are trying to correct this? Because this is what it's really all about. Who's behind the scenes that's going to fix this to get us back on track?
Right. So we've added a tremendous number of people. We've added 4 more quality people. We've gone from 7 to 20 people in manufacturing. We've moved 3 more engineering resources onto this product line. We've added 2 more field engineers, and we'll be adding more technicians to make sure that we are at every installation on both Long Island and Metro North for these retrofitted units. So we've literally and we've added this to meet the schedule. We're now adding a second shift in manufacturing and 7-day operation. So it's a big effort by the business, and we're certainly throwing people and talent and facilities at it right now.
Thank you. Do you have another question?
Well, I never stop somebody.
Yes, I know. I'm trying to move us along here.
I know you are, and I'm not trying to stall you. This is probably my last one. Don't hold me to that, though. As you replace these capacitors, I mean, are you replacing it with the original one? I mean, you had an original capacitor, then you replaced it. And now you got another capacitor. Right. Have you gone back to the original one, or are you on to a third or fourth modulation of that?
It's a good question. So what's happened in 2017? We actually exited the supplier we were using for the capacitor because we were having so many quality issues. So it wasn't meeting our quality requirements, our incoming quality, and went to this new capacitor. The capacitor itself seems to be a good component. The issue occurred when we were actually soldering the component to the board versus bolting it to the board. As I said, we believed it was a direct replacement. So by soldering it and heating it up, we changed its characteristics. So this component is a good component. We've tested it, and we believe, given the right application, it's going to operate just fine.
Bolted, not soldered?
Bolted, correct.
Yeah, well, it certainly doesn't surprise me that heating up an electrical component change. I mean,
right.
It doesn't sound particularly shocking. But how about the drawing itself? You had a drawing. What did the drawing say, which I assume the engineers that built the thing or designed the thing knew that heating it up would be problematic, and therefore structured it to be bolted? How did that escape the scrutiny of your people?
I'll let Aaron answer that one.
The previous component was specified to be soldered, and on a PCB, most of the components are soldered. It is a typical method for attaching components to a PCBA. In this case, the drawing was not changed, so it did still require manufacturing to solder the component. The miss was in the communication between engineering and the new vendor about what the new application method was. The engineer who spec'd this out paid particular attention to electrical characteristics, to technical specifications, and they missed that the application method was different, partly because they had thought that it would be the same, and it is a very typical application to solder components to a PCBA.
Within all of these questions, I don't want to lose one of the last issues that Debbie raised, which is the difficulty of dealing with back-to-back interlockings. I recognize that Long Island Railroad and Metro North are two of the far more complicated railroads to have to deal with, but I don't want to see Long Island Railroad delayed because of the double software issue in order to respond to that question. Is there some assurance that this is going to go ahead?
Yes. Let me give just a little bit of background. We have a couple of baseline releases that we are completing. We completed baseline release 3.4 on schedule, March 25th. With that, that allowed return of revenue service demonstration on pilot line 2. Entry into RSD for the first time on pilot line 1. 3.5 we're releasing on schedule. Right now it's in testing. That's going along pretty well. No real showstoppers to date. A couple of more, I guess, successful things that we've done in the last couple of months. We have the Rev 10 interoperability on Metro North with Amtrak. That was successful. On Metro North, we have the first migration of civil speed transponders to PTC on the Danbury line. We have ramped up our system integration resources. Since we last met in February, we've brought on 4 very qualified, high-level individuals to assist with the system integration activities on the remaining functions on the Long Island Railroad. With respect to back-to-back interlockings, we delivered the conceptual and the detailed designs on schedule, as we had promised. And in the course of that, of developing these designs, we discovered that that Herald and Valley interlockings they had even more difficulties, more complexities than we'd originally considered. There are, I believe, 22 specific areas with boundary issues with back-to-back interlockings. The plan now is to complete 3.6, which has the vast majority of those, and those are within Herald interlocking. And then in 3.7, which is scheduled for January, I believe, which will include interoperability with the other railroads, the tenant railroads, to be released in January. And right now, what we're trying to do, as we've been talking with Ms. Chin and others, and Mr. Cavagna, is to bring Valley back into 3.6. I mean, that's our overall plan. We've been working on a way to do that. Again, even with once we get 3.6 in October, the idea is that will be the overwhelming majority of everything that we can test. There's just a few specific areas within Herald and Valley, and so by putting the remaining those few areas of the boundary issues in 3.7, that will allow us to move forward, test the overwhelming majority of those within 3.6, get those completed by the time we get 3.7 with interoperability installed, and we begin testing.
I am pleased to hear that you've expanded your staff. I do feel that has been one of the issues that we were dealing with, so I take that as a positive. I think you should be totally embarrassed that we felt it necessary to send quality control inspectors. It's unfortunate. I will ask Debbie and Anthony to report to the working group as soon as you've had an opportunity to absorb the schedule that's presented to you, so that we have some assurance from our own people that we will actually move ahead as you've suggested. We appreciate that you came here today. Is there anything else that anyone would like to ask them? Thank you. If you would allow those gentlemen who left their seats to retake them, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The rest of Debbie's report is in the book. Please reach out to us if you have any difficulty understanding it. Most of us have seen it many a time, so it doesn't bear redoing. There are a number of other information items, and I'm sure you're here for questions.
The final report of Metro North's 2018 operating budget results is in the agenda, and we are available to answer any questions.
Go ahead.
The 2018 annual ridership report is in the agenda, and we're available to answer any questions.
I just move it right through.
The Metro North annual inventory report is in the agenda, and we're available for questions on that as well.
Track.
And our progress report is in the agenda on our ongoing track maintenance work to bring the infrastructure to a state of good repair. We're available for any questions.
Hearing none, Phil, you have information items as well.
We do, Susan. So we also have the final review of 2018 operating budget results, the 2018 annual ridership report, and the annual inventory report in the book. I'd also like to just point out the May timetable change in special programs. We have 3 service adjustments for May due to work at Farmingdale, Atlantic Branch, and Mainline Queens Interlocking. And then we have 1 event coming up in Farmingdale for the May 18th PGA tournament. And we're available to answer any questions as well.
Questions? Hearing none, we'll move on to procurements. We'll do Metro North first. Anthony?
Yes, good morning. There are 4 procurements in this month's package totaling $31,746,225. Of that, there is 1 non-competitive procurement totaling $7.9 million. There are 3 competitive procurements totaling $23.8 million. The non-competitive procurement is a request to approve an award of a 5-year non-competitive negotiated miscellaneous service contract in a not to exceed amount of $7,944,232 to the firm Mitsubishi Electric Power Products for service, repair, and overhaul of the M8 rail car heating, ventilation, and air conditioning HVAC units. The units provide rail year-round heating and air conditioning of the to the riding public on the New Haven Line M8 fleet. The three competitive procurements are as follows. Approval is requested to use the request for proposal process for the design, construction, and delivery of a wayside energy storage system. The system is included, as Sue mentioned earlier, in Metro North's Way Ahead initiative to deploy technology to improve power delivery to trains on the Harlem Line. The second competitive procurement is to award an 18-month competitively solicited CDOT funded with federal funds contract in the not to exceed amount of $23,552,259 to the firm Ansaldo STS USA, now doing business as Hitachi STS USA. Under the contract, Ansaldo will perform application engineering prior to fabricating and delivering 39 new pre-wired communication to signal houses and 25 signal cases to be located on the Waterbury branch from Devon to Waterbury, Connecticut. The period of performance is accelerated schedule to meet the FRA requirement to install positive train control by December 31st, 2020. And lastly, approval is requested to award a 12-month miscellaneous service contract in the not to exceed amount of $249,734 to the firm GPI Greenman Pedersen Engineering. Under the contract, GPI will provide services related to the review of customer trend data received from various internal sources. May I please have a vote for these procurements presented in the April procurement package?
I move to recommend these procurements to the full board. Is there a second? Thank you. Discussion. Questions on these procurements? Any discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. We'll move on to the Long Island Railroad procurements.
Madam Chair, point of order. And a prerogative of the co-chair. Couple of things. Jano in his report talked about the utilizations of incentives, which is helping move the third track project along. The flip side of that is penalties or messaging our concerns. And we've just sat through, a lengthy Q&A with the folks from Siemens and Bombardier. And I, for one, am not satisfied with the answers. And I want to pull this item from the agenda until I have a chance to talk to staff and get a better handle on the issue. As was mentioned last week when Rhonda and I and Hader got before we had to get confirmed by the New York State Senate, and as the governor had also highlighted in his release when we were being appointed, we need to be doing things differently. We need to be looking at things differently, and we need to be vocal when things are not acceptable, and not just approve a $3.1 million extension after we just all expressed our dissatisfaction with the process. And so I want to pull this item from the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. So the Siemens Mobility item is pulled from the agenda to be discussed later. Anything else? In which case, we'll move on to capital construction.
Good morning, Madam Chair.
We have the risk asking new members on big items. But there's some background here, and I think many of the committee knows it. When I announced, and I just went over a little bit of it, that we were doing a full-on redo of the schedule and the budget and integrated systems testing approach a year ago, we also said we have to recut the deals with the contractors that they would adhere to that schedule. And we had to get them to buy into new milestones. That took completion of the schedule and the negotiations with the contractor took the better part of a year. And at that time, for the benefit of the new members, I also said that the reason that we had to deal with a budget increase at that time is that fixing all the problems on this project would take some money, and we've been upfront about that. And as every month we've been making progress in resolving these problems, we've come to the board with change orders, with contract modifications that address those issues. This is now before you at this in this set of procurements are some big ones. And they have to do with the two principal contractors in the field who are a critical path to the completion of the construction portion of the schedule, which is the concourse. That's the what people would think of as the station up above in the basement of Grand Central, and the systems testing, which is all the 29 separate systems and all of the fire, life safety, communications, and digital infrastructure that goes with a facility of this kind. So those add up to some recutting those contracts and getting adherence to the new schedules are some big numbers. I am confident that this is the right thing to do, and most important, it puts behind us a significant risk that was, even though we were making progress on all the things I talked about to you about, the commercial terms and the adherence of the contractors to the new schedule was a significant risk, which I think we now, with these contract mods, have addressed. So that's a very long introduction to saying that's why there are a couple of very big contract mods in this package. So Mr. Cannon can hand it formally, but I just wanted you to have that background.
Thank you. I think that's appropriate because I recognize that you're cleaning up some things that we've been talking about for a long time, but I do think it helps frame it out.
Okay, good morning. Capital Construction's procurement package consists of 5 items this month and totals $128,840,050. The items begin on page 219 of your committee book. There are no items in the non-competitive section. There is one item in the competitive section. The competitive item requests approval to award a modification to the Howell Structures BC approach contract to relocate catenary wire from existing structures to new poles along the Amtrak North Runner track. This work is required in order to demolish existing catenary structures that are within the footprint of new track work. The work was to be performed by Amtrak forces, but due to their unavailability, and in order not to delay the work, it will be done as a modification to this contract. The cost of this modification is $1,083,840. This item is submitted for your consideration and vote.
I will move to recommend these items. Is there a second? There is a second. Discussion? Any questions? Those in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Information items? Oh, sorry, I forgot about that one.
There are 4 ratification items this month. The first 2 are the ones that Jano just spoke about. The first modification is to the Facilities Systems contract to resolve all outstanding claims of delays and associated impact costs and claims for added costs associated with implementing a new schedule approach. The cost of this modification is $67 million. The second is a modification to the East Side Access GCT Concourse and Facilities Fit-Out contract to resolve all pending disputes over added work, delays, and associated impact costs, and provide a new schedule for work going forward, along with the deletion of the North Transfer Station. The cost of this modification is $54,124,210. Please note that these modifications, as Jano mentioned, were anticipated and are included in the current budget. The third and fourth items in this section are modifications to the East Side Access Midday Storage Yard, one to enhance reliability for efficient operation of trains in the amount of $5,082,000, and the second one to furnish and install infrastructure for CCTV cameras in the western limits of the yard for a total of $1,550,000. The latter modification is the results of an errors and omissions, and the MTACC will be seeking compensation from the designer of record for this modification. These items are submitted for your consideration and vote.
I'll move them. Second. Discussion. Those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Monthly reports.
The monthly reports on Metro North and Long Island Railroad's operations, financial, ridership, and capital program are included in the committee agenda book, and we are now available to answer any questions you may have on these reports.
Questions on these reports? Hearing none. Thank you very much. Is there a motion to adjourn? Second? Those in favor? Thank you.